Mm.
Most diverse panel
I should
ever.
pull those show notes up. It's as diverse as the town hall in Durham.
Yeah.
So you had old white man and young white man.
Diversity is our strength.
There wasn't a new Canadian in sight. Yeah, well, there was one actually on the officer cadet force.
Well, your son is a new Canadian, right?
And some native Canadians, but yeah, I was like, I can only imagine like a globo homo guy like Bill Blair, like looking at the crowd and being like, "Oh God, these people are going to eat me alive." You know.
Also, we're live on YouTube. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 169 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada. We're recording on February 4th, 2019.
Who put Richard first? That's just mean.
Wow.
I'm liberal, Tim. I'm a liberal, a husband and father of 3, and I'm a sports shooter and a proud descendant of immigrants.
My name is Ian. I'm a target shooter, reloader, hobby farmer, and the token Westerner on the panel.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural southern Ontario.
Gavin, business owner, gun owner, hunter, atheist, volunteer, first responder, and CCFR field officer for the GTA.
And Richard Wakefield, just a shooter, involved in politics.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
Yeah, Tyler gets final billing tonight. I'm a far-right extremist sports shooter, a husband and father, and occasionally put out an episode of the Liberty Death podcast every few months or so, 3-4 months.
Well, he's also internet famous currently.
My e-celeb status precedes me. Yeah. Andrew, it's dead air, Bo.
Someone is really bad at this show.
Yeah. His name is Andrew. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. I'm not going to read the URL for Stitcher or for iTunes. So that's
good call.
Yeah. Get some agency people.
You don't know how to find URLs by now.
Yeah.
Check out the podcast, facebook.com/Canadian.
if you can't find it on the internet, you should consider killing yourself.
Wow, harsh.
But fair.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Check the podcast out at HTTPs.
No.
That's what I do by accident.
Are you writing this down?
I see 2 Andrews on the panel here.
Sorry, my Hangouts crashed and bad things happened. It's fine.
Okay.
Just carry
on for you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think we're at Marty, aren't we?
No, he read his piece.
Yeah,
you're the one who's failing right now.
No, I'm
you're the delinquent here.
Sorry about that. We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 and shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Made by our very own Tim of Tim's Good Teas. They're quite good.
It's time for my favorite segment. It's called "What Are We Drinking?" Every week,
Arrowhead Coffee anymore.
Arrowhead Coffee brings us "What Are We Drinking?" Jesus, it's like you don't even listen. I'm hurt. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true North, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces veterans, members, and their families. And if you want to get in touch with me at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, I will shill for you too. The fees are very reasonable for advertising on this platform. Very reasonable. Gavin, we're going to go left to right on my screen just like we always do. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking some leftover Tito's vodka from Vegas and cherry Kool-Aid.
Could you define leftover vodka for me?
We drank a whole lot that week, but that was what was left in the bottle at the end of the time we were there that I brought back with me.
Okay.
I know it doesn't happen often, but it does every now and again. And waste not, want not. So, or however that goes.
Something like that. Ian, what are you drinking?
Coffee and Irish whiskey. It's colder than a mother-in-law's kiss out here right now.
Oh, that's cold.
That's cold.
Yeah.
-4.
About that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a humid cold here. Come on now.
Still in BC, huh? Fun anecdote. I work with a number of people from BC, and we're going to Alberta next week for work. I had to explain to my BC compatriots how to dress weather appropriately for the rest of Canada that is not a temperate rainforest. There's much bewilderment to be had.
What do you mean minus?
I have a lot of
That
contempt
was
for
kind
those
of the
people.
reaction I got.
Like when Rod Gilbert
winter
was here in
forest.
Ontario, and he was just bitching and moaning about how beautiful BC is. I'm like, fucking go home, asshole.
I missed having Tyler on the show. I didn't miss editing. Richard, what are you drinking?
Sorry, guys, nothing.
Lame.
Good.
Tyler, what are you drinking? Tyler, what are you drinking?
Oh. Belgian. I was too busy heckling Richard. Sorry. Belgian Moon. Drinking my favorite wheat beer currently.
Good stuff. Marty, what are you drinking?
I got some Spice Box whiskey and some Coke Zero.
Still riding the keto train.
I am.
Well, good for you. Tim, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking 40 Creek Copper Pot and reverse osmosis water. And what is water? Tap water, Marty?
It's a gay bomb, baby.
Gay bomb, baby? All right.
What do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby.
Is that what we're looking for? Is that better?
Go
Literally
RO.
it's the first button on the palette, and I couldn't even find it, but that's fine.
Code for no.
Where'd we leave off? Tim. Oh no, we did Tim. Me.
40
What am I
Creek Copper
drinking?
Pot and
Yeah,
reverse
no,
osmosis.
reverse osmosis water. Yeah, I'm glad you're back on the show too. I'm drinking Highland Park whiskey because Scotch. Let's do the firearms consultation. So today's podcast is all guns all the time. To address the feedback we've gotten about how we don't talk about guns enough, you should strap yourself in for the next 90 minutes of all we're going to talk about is guns.
Heck yeah, we are.
Accessories. We're going to start with the firearms consultation in Durham, Ontario. This is a small town, near Owen Sound? Not to be confused with the municipality that's near the GTA.
It's close.
I'm
Durham's a
going with
region, right? Durham's a regional municipality next to the
That's what I'm saying.
Durham is a town in Grey County.
So we don't want to confuse those two things because one is
Durham is a community
better
within
than
the
the other.
municipality of West Grey. You know,
I hear there's a lot of ditch fillers there.
I've been taking. I'm up to date on my vaccines.
Good. So who went to the firearms consultation? What was it about? Why are we talking about it, etc.?
I went.
I was also there.
Richard was
Tim
there.
was
I
there.
was there. Richard had an orange juice.
Yes, I had.
Our good friend Rick, who has come out to like nearly every shooting match and event that we've put on at our club, Sydenham Sportsman, me and Tim. He was there as well. And Come and Take 'em Ken, for
Yes.
anybody who's listened to one of the earlier episodes of Liberty or Death. He was there too.
It was funny. I'd mentioned to Richard, I said, "Hey, that you'll like that guy. We call him come and take a Ken." And then like 30 seconds later, you hear him going, "Come and take him." just in average conversation.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just tell the story, if I may. Sorry, Ken, for divulging what you thought you were, sharing privately with me. But I'm going to tell however many listeners we have right now. I met
All
this
three of
guy
them.
like 3-4 years ago, maybe more, 5 years ago, even at the gun club. It's like I just met this guy. Like he doesn't know who I am. And he's just like, yeah, what do you think about all these potential gun bans? I'll tell you, I'm like 55 years old. My kids are all grown up. I've got grandkids. I got nothing to lose. If they're going to try and take my guns away, I'm going to send my wife away, and I'm just going to sit there with my loaded rifle, and I'm just going to like take out every last motherfucker that tries to transgress upon me. And he doesn't know who the hell I am, and I just thought that was like pretty cool of him. So I'm like, man, we're gonna be good friends.
See, that's when you should have fucked with him and be like, I'm Tyler, I work for the RCMP.
Yeah.
I know that would be really hard to say with a straight face for pretty much everyone on this panel, but it would have been hilarious.
But Ken's always making comments like that, and sure enough, like we're kind of in the audience, and he's just like, let's see how big this fucker's nose grows, and he's like, I don't trust a word that this guy has to say. He's not here in good faith. The only thing that's going to change anything is armed revolution. And I'm pretty convinced, Tim, I don't know if you picked up on this, but the guy in front of us with the dirty like hippie ponytail, I'm pretty sure he was a police plant, because he was sitting there alone. He wasn't with anybody. And we kept getting like the side eye. I don't know if you were picking up on that. He was like,
that was a little,
yeah, pretty sure.
So would you say that the audience was a mix of come and take them Ken type individuals and collaborators?
Yeah, there were, agents provocateur, plants in there, I'm sure. Waiting for the crowd, like the fervor to reach like a fever pitch, and then that person would be the first one to like throw a chair at Blair or something like that. But that never happened. Things never really got out of hand. But no, there was a crowd of just local hunters and sport shooters, kind of your basic sampling.
Between 400 and 500.
Yeah, basic sampling of people who have a vested interest in what's going on.
It was standing room only by the end of the event.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to see.
Yeah, the 6 police officers were not needed. Like that's
of course.
Well, the six uniformed police officers were not needed.
I wish the gun community's attitudes were at a point where those officers were needed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
I think if 3 million gun owners were a problem, you'd probably know it by now.
Yeah. Well, it just would have been nice, like. I was saying, like, it's an offense to bring a gun to a public meeting, right? That's on the books. It's an offense. But what a statement it would be if all several hundred, 300 plus or more people who attended brought a non-restricted rifle with them. Like, if 2 or 3 people do it, they're going to get arrested. But if everybody does it, the event will just get shut down. But it sends a very powerful message.
What if everyone just had them in their gun rack in their truck in the parking lot?
Well, that's also an offense. It's supposed to be secured from view, like when you're not with the vehicle. But, I guess if everybody just stayed in their trucks.
Yeah, because then you're not breaking any law.
Yeah.
Or what if it was in like a gun stock that's locked into the rack in your window? Because then it's obscured from view.
It's supposed to be concealed from view. So if it's readily identifiable as a gun, I'm afraid that's a no-go.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Shall we play some audio?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Got audio. We'll see if I can find... Oh, God, where did it go? Apparently, I don't have audio. I don't know where it went.
Talk amongst yourselves. We'll give you a topic.
No. What if I do this?
I hear.
If you can't figure your shit out, I could do a live reading.
Yeah. What if Tyler just impersonates himself and rehashes his comments?
Does none of your stuff work, or is it just the one video?
No, it's just like
Worst
for some reason.
Ever.
Dude, this podcast is terrible.
Who has that drop? God damn you all.
Pretty sure that's Richard.
Here, I got. Try this on for size.
Firearms for our soldiers. The lead infield. That would be assault in trenches. Assault's the verb. That's an action. A noun is the firearm. Through World War II in Korea, we assaulted the enemy with those weapons. Those were assault rifles, bolt action, .303 caliber, 10-round magazines. Recently, we just gave those last legacy firearms to our Canadian Rangers when we switched out their firearms to their new those are assault weapons by your fact. It doesn't have to be semi-automatic. I can assault you with a baseball bat. Fact.
I appreciate you beginning, though.
But it's true. I can assault you with my hands. I'm an advanced small arms instructor. I teach probably more than, I don't know now, 30 students in a course. So since 1998, probably 10, 15,000 people. I've taught firearms too. Fact. Now you say no actions, no consequences. Well, when you get halftime pre-trial, and then you get your term served by cutting free because you're a good model, got my education while I was in prison, that's a fact. We do not make the criminal pay. Everybody in this room took a course. Everybody had to pass a mandated legislated course, serial to a minimum balance to get where they're at today. And then they went and they registered themselves with the RCMP, background check, got a PAL. Went to a store, bought a firearm. Wanted a handgun, had to get an ATT, another background check, sir. Those are facts. The fact is, by rule of law, a criminal is someone who does not follow the rule of law. That's where we need to address the firearms problem in this nation.
Thank you.
So that was your angry veteran guy that you had.
Yeah, I love that guy. That guy's awesome.
I would just like to say, fact, that guy is based. I like it.
I understand he had several comments, of which I only have audio from one.
That was his second trip up of 3. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He never made it for the third one. He was.
They cut him off.
Larry Miller cut him off. Yeah.
Disappointing.
I asked if he had a business card, but he didn't have one.
Too bad.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. He should get a business card.
I bet he has a Trump hat.
At the very least, a Make Trudeau a drama teacher again hat.
Yeah.
An assault hat.
A fact hat.
Fact hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that he was.
I'm going to add this: that the U.S. Army actually does have a definition for assault rifle that was back in the 1960s, and we all know what that is. But there is an actual definition for an assault rifle, but not an assault weapon. Anything can be that.
You understand, like, the technical definition is irrelevant. It means whatever the hell they want it to mean.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
I just because people get up there and like, so our angry veteran who we love is saying, like, the Lee Enfield was the assault rifle of its day. And, you're dropping that information with the understanding that the Lee Enfield might be the most common rifle in the country, and act like that's some big BTFO to the liberal agenda. But really, all that really is like the liberals are like, well, maybe you have a point. Maybe we'll ban that too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not winning over hearts and minds with this rhetoric. These people are coming for your guns, like, full stop. There's no middle ground.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake that a lot of gun owners make, is we argue over the semantics, and you're not gonna win that argument. We're not gonna win this battle by pointing out that the definition of assault rifle doesn't exist or is vague. They're coming for all guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
at the end of the meeting, I actually cornered Blair on his way out, and I said, you may be sincere in what you're doing here, but we don't trust the liberals. The C-68 was a real slap in the face to firearms owners. And he understood that, maybe this is the first time, I don't know, but he understood that, yeah, we have a hard time with liberals and their firearms desires. So I don't know where it's going to go from there for him.
Back to Ottawa to
go exactly where he was always going to go.
Yeah. Well,
take away our guns. Canadians are concerned about the availability of assault weapons, and we should ban them all.
Yep.
I want these meetings to continue, because I want the feedback that he relays up the pipe to be, these people aren't going to go quietly.
No, the agenda's been set. This was a dog and pony show.
Yeah, I do find
much like the Toronto one.
I find it suspicious while we're on the topic of what's going to go back up the back to Ottawa. The CBC had a van there, but there is nothing on the CBC's website about what transpired at this meeting.
They had at least 2 cameras that I saw,
but they've published nothing about it.
Probably because
there was nothing that was positive for their agenda.
Yeah, there's probably too many pro-gun people
But didn't we just give the media like $600 million to do more reporting?
The van being there was really the van being there was just a coincidence. There was just like two guys blowing each other in the back.
And like we didn't give them that. Trudeau gave them that money to push their agenda.
Yeah.
So if they show up and there's too many pro-gun people and not enough anti-gun people, they're not going to run the piece.
They're not even going to say that the event happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like coincidentally, when they had the same event in the GTA, and there was a different mixture of people, well, they reported on that one.
Yeah, because there was a lot more anti-gun people there. But when you're in a more rural area where there's going to be a lot of hunters, they're definitely
it wasn't even hunters. There, you know, like I maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I don't really feel like we heard from hunters. Most people describe themselves as sport shooters and recreational shooters. There was a couple of people that described themselves as like cattlemen or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we didn't really hear from
maybe
hunters.
Like 20-30% hunters and farmers.
Yeah, there were a lot of hunters there, but I think they were keeping their mouths shut. They weren't saying much. They were clapping at the right times, but they weren't actually up there saying anything.
Yeah, well, they showed support.
I would say in this that generally hunters are less invested in. Than sports shooters, competition shooters.
Well, a lot of them never registered their gun in the first place.
Well, again, in Quebec, if Quebec's any indication, then they may be more on our side than we think.
Yeah.
Somebody's reading ahead. I have more audio. Shall we hear from Tyler? This will be fun. Tyler's going to have to listen to himself.
I know that guy.
I'm a husband and a father. I live in Thornbury, Ontario, about an hour northeast of here. I stand here as a gun owner of about 10 years, alongside what appears to be about several hundred of the fellow members of my community, all of whom are more thoroughly vetted than Trudeau's token Syrian refugees or the people pouring across our supposedly secure border. My question is, how does this government pretend to be taking this issue seriously when the only legislation presented to date targets us and only us? About $50,000 of my personal property, lawfully acquired and peacefully owned, is directly threatened by you. Maybe you can explain to my son how you intend to be respectful of his inheritance while simultaneously threatening it. I think I can speak for all of us here when I say that the government's proposed policies are just lazy, and dare I say there may be an ulterior motive at play. And I think as a former police officer, you should know better and should have tossed that mandate paper back in Trudeau's face. You mentioned that Canada's gun ownership is based on hunting and sport shooting. Respectfully, I will say I consider gun ownership a right, and rights are inalienable. It's only governments that choose to acknowledge them or not. And I think you've made it very clear where the Liberals stand on that issue. You said that we don't own guns for personal protection, but I say speak for yourself. Thank you.
Let me be really clear. The mandate that I was given was to do what is possible to keep Canadians safe. That's what I've spent my whole life doing and what I'll always continue to do, and that's the job the Prime Minister gave me. You're more than welcome to your opinion and perspective on this, and I'm sure it's shared by many others. But the reality is, firearm ownership is a privilege. It's a privilege earned by each and every person in this room. It's a privilege earned because you obey the rules, you follow the law, you are responsible in your ownership, you're responsible and you obey the law on how you acquire your firearms, how you use your firearms, how you store your firearms, and how you dispose of your firearms. That is a privilege that each and every one of you has earned, and I thank you for that. But it is not a right to carry a firearm in this country. It's a privilege to be earned, and all of you have done so. Mr. Toronto.
So, two questions. Did anybody get more applause than Tyler at this event?
Yes.
I think there were, yeah.
But disappointing work on that.
And two, who disposes of their firearms?
Okay. Hold on. Let me throw this in there. The format of the event was you stood in line. There were two lineups, alternating mics, and you had 90 seconds to say your piece, and then Blair would have 90 seconds to respond if necessary. And the whoever had their comment or question did not have the opportunity to respond in turn, they would have to get back in line if they wanted to speak further. So there was no opportunity for an immediate rebuttal.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah. So I'll just throw that out there that that was the format, and that wasn't like the end of the exchange, you know, so to speak. So, like there would be more words exchanged if that was allowed.
I will say that is a hell of a lot better than the format in Toronto where we had to write our questions on a piece of paper where they were then filtered by the two Liberal MPs on stage. Which is also why there was a lot more coverage of the event by the CBC, and why this one will probably never see the light of day, other than the videos being shared on Facebook of Tyler and the angry vet.
So in terms of applause, I think the loudest applause is one of two comments. Number one, there was a woman who said like that there were references to immigrant crime. There were references to deporting immigrant criminals as a measure of being tough on crime. And Blair had, you know, he brought up his stories, X, Y, and Z anyway. So this woman said, you know, back in my day, if you came to Canada, you came to this country, you understood that if you screwed up, you'd be sent home. So why don't we send some of these people back where the hell they came from? And that got big applause.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the meeting, which is potentially, you know, definitely a contender for best applause, was Larry Miller counter-signaling Blair, saying that there is no such thing as a refugee from the United States. That got big applause.
Truth.
Yeah, this is promising.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad he's not going to run next year, but
yeah. One of my other favorite comments from what I've heard is that there was, I think it was the one lady that asked if there was a gender study done on a gun ban. And then Blair goes on to say that, of course we did that. Of course we did that. So then Tracy of the CCFR gets up and says that she's going to file the ATIP for that gender study.
Which we know doesn't exist.
Monday morning, I think she said.
But they have him recorded saying all of this nonsense that it exists. So they're going to catch him in a lie because, there's no way they did a gender study on whether a gun ban is going to be effective. Like,
she actually pointed out. She said, like as a woman, like typical woman is a smaller stature than a man, and semi-automatics have a gentler recoil. Therefore, you're kind of going after like women's guns by going after semi-automatics.
Well, they already did when they went after prohibit barrel-length pistols. You know, most small compact pistols you cannot own in this country.
Yeah, and from experience, I know while shopping for a handgun for Angela, I mean, the regular restricted handguns here, their size is kind of difficult for most women that have small hands to hold. They weren't designed for the female hand.
So one thing I'll add just on the video and Blair's response to it was, you know, he goes on and on about how gun ownership is not a right. And like, I'll accept that, yes, that is a matter of opinion. In the sense that you can have two different perspectives on the matter, but he says that in Canada it's a privilege, and you have to abide by all of these conditions and whatever, and you know, in order to maintain that privilege, and we all do that. So why are we there at that meeting having to defend the ownership of our property, right? Like, we've made good on our end of the deal.
Yeah, you can't change the deal.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like they're targeting the wrong group of people.
Yeah, of course they are. But I mean, that would be, you know, if I had the opportunity to respond to him, that would be it. It'd be like, well, we have fulfilled our end of the bargain.
Yeah. So, you want to have a new gun owner that hasn't applied for a license yet, then fine, change their conditions or whatever. But like, these are the conditions we've already fucking agreed to. Like, if this was contract law, that's how that would work.
Yeah.
Like, go fuck yourself, bud.
That gun grabbing son of a bitch doesn't care. No. All I know is that there are plenty of trees in West Grey that can support a man. You know, what do you figure he weighs? 200 pounds. That's all.
I'd say 220. He's pretty tall.
I'd say 200 is a fairly low estimate. I mean, he's got to have at least 150 pounds of shit inside of him.
Well, that was interesting. You brought that up.
Plug, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought that up because, like, I've had 4 huge shits today.
Know that,
and I think
every single one of them has been more intelligent.
He's so full of shit that I'm full of shit just by being in the same room as him. 4 big shits. Like, and then the next one comes along and I'm like, holy shit, where? Because I'm not like eating.
No.
It's not like I went to a buffet or something.
No.
We're just by association.
We're gonna move right on to the next thing. Let's listen to the bag of shit talk to us for a moment.
That we're looking very seriously at how we might make it more unlikely that those weapons will be stolen. How we create greater security around those firearms, and so we've examined a number of issues. This notion I've heard referenced a number of times of central storage. I've had proposals suggested to me in a number of jurisdictions that might work in that jurisdiction. But I also want to share with you that I've heard in many other places in Canada, people saying to me that will not work here. And so it was important to go to those places, to listen to those people, to look at the circumstances. I will tell you, for example, I was in Whitehorse. I went to their range. By the way, they have a beautiful range. Those of you who enjoy firearms shooting would love to go to Whitehorse and see their range. It's on the side of the mountain, an outstanding, beautiful setting. But it was not a secure setting where storage would be appropriate. And so it was useful to go there, to travel all the way to Whitehorse, to stand in that place, to listen to those people, to have them share their expertise and experience with me so I could learn from that and take that back to the government and say, Prime Minister, I went to Whitehorse and this is what I've heard. I had the same experience in places like Kenora, here today in Owen Sound, in Red Deer, Alberta, and in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. And I've gone to all of those places to listen to people and to learn from their perspectives. And that's what I'll be taking back to the Prime Minister. This is what I have heard.
Thank you.
So what's the takeaway from that? The takeaway I get
like central storage.
Yeah, the takeaway I get from that is they're going to put storage and they're going to put any kind of storage of firearms in the hands of the municipalities, and to let the municipalities decide how you're going to store your firearms, because then that would appease the city folk because they'll get the central storage, but us out here in the boondocks where it's impossible to do, they'll just leave it the way it is in your home.
Yeah,
that's what I can see them doing.
Yeah, let's concentrate all of the firearms in one location so that it's easier for criminals to go and steal more of them.
And
I have to say, I'm coming around to the idea of central storage, but I think we should do it slightly differently.
All right.
Let's just put all the criminals in one spot.
I think we already do that.
We'll take all the criminals, we'll put them somewhere secure, so that way they don't steal our stuff, instead of putting all our stuff in one place.
I think we do that, though. It's called prisons. We just need to start putting the criminals in the prisons and keeping them there.
I think I have a rough estimate. I think it'd be about $104,000 a year per person to keep them there, though.
Yeah. What if we just give them one-way helicopter rides? That's got to be cheaper.
I don't know. I see. I drive around in the winter up here, and I drive by, and there's always these big ditches. And I'm thinking, like, a lot of people don't want to slide off the road into the ditch.
Yeah.
What if we filled those ditches?
Well, I mean, we saw a few cars in the ditch at the select shooting range day there, and that did not look fun. Yeah, that didn't look fun.
Yeah, I think
there's at least 2. Yeah.
What happened to when we could have our prisoners doing work for the public? Like, if we just throw some
can't do that.
No. We'll just get we'll get a whole bunch of Dillons, some Dillon 1050s, and we'll have our prisoners loading us all some ammo. So that way, for all the rest of the competition shooters, because once we get rid of all the criminals, then we can all keep going to our competition shooting. We'll get them to make us some cheap ammo.
I've had people who are genuinely intrigued and interested in my press, and they still manage to screw up loading rounds. So I wouldn't want anybody who doesn't want to be there.
It's not polite to talk about Matt when he's not here, okay?
I'm not talking about Matt.
Oh, right, because he's never even touched his own.
Yeah, I mean, that would be implying Matt's ever operated a press.
No, the whole central storage thing is absolutely fucking ridiculous, and Blair is ridiculous. I mean, one of his other comments where he goes on, like he was talking about that guy that sold 47 guns illegally or whatever.
Which is something that happened one time in the last like 20 years.
But not even that. Like he goes on to say like, oh well, we did throw the book at him. He got 8 years.
Yeah.
You know what? As a legal gun owner, fuck that. 8 years is not enough. That is like just over 2 months for every.
That was the general consensus.
Yeah, the general consensus was that was a very lenient sentence, even though he defended it, saying it was a very harsh sentence.
It's not.
But hang on, we were saying that like the whoever had said that an immigrant who commits a crime should be deported. And he said that we do that if they commit a serious crime, and that would be a crime that warrants a sentence of 10 years or greater. So an immigrant could buy and sell 47 handguns, funnel them into the illegal market, and that would not be serious enough to get them kicked out.
But I mean, any single person on this panel, if we forgot our stupid piece of paper that we're supposed to have with our license and go to the range, we're going to get more than that, and we haven't even really committed a crime.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? What piece of paper?
Yeah, see? There's a stupid slip of paper that's supposed to go with your license that you're supposed to have with you.
Yeah, it's the conditions.
Yeah. See? You better find that shit, Tim, because you're going to fucking go to jail for more than 8 years over a stupid piece of paper. And this guy gets just over 2 months per gun? Fuck that. The guy should be getting like 8 years per gun or more.
You should get, it should be, they recovered, I think he said 8 or 9 guns that were channeled into the illegal market. They were obviously recovered through the process of investigating crimes. He should be charged as an accessory to each and every one of those crimes, in addition to the offenses of illegally transferring a restricted gun.
And every time one of those guns gets found, and every crime that can be linked back to him should be added onto his sentence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, then what do we charge politicians with every time there's someone who's disarmed by gun law that could have defended themselves with a weapon and they suffer bodily harm or death?
The politician who took somebody's gun away, it should be treated as if they were there when the murder occurred, tying the victim's hands behind their backs as they were killed.
Yeah, hanging.
An accessory to murder.
Hemp will save the world.
It will. It's a marvelous
any suitably strong material will do. I'm not a purist.
Yeah, silk works too.
Some 14-2.
Yeah.
That'll get the job done.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything of value in the Owen Sound Times article that we had. Blair,
that was a big nothing burger. I read that whole thing and I really regret it.
Blair met with some reporters and went to a gun club in Owen Sound.
Yeah. Also, can I just mention, who the hell needs to go all the way to Whitehorse to figure out that centralized storage on a range is impractical? There's like a dozen ranges within 30 minutes of Ottawa where it would be readily obvious that centralized storage is not a good idea.
So this is my other comment on that. Like, hearing that whole pile of turd coming out of his mouth, it sounds like he's taken a page out of Trudeau's speeching directions, because there's a whole lot of ums and ahs and but then it also sounds like he's taken a page out of Trump's book with it's a beautiful range. Everyone knows this. Like,
Mr. Weird. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
You have to remember that Blair was a Toronto cop for most of his career, so things like Whitehorse are a total mystery to him because he's from fucking Toronto.
Yeah, you know what else is a mystery to him? Common sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would also argue that he hasn't been a cop for about 20 years before he retired, because he was a politician long before he got his retirement papers given to him.
Yeah, and somehow being the pop star didn't work out for him.
I do like that the Owen Sound Times picked the saddest picture of Impossible. It looks like he may have recently hit the blunts.
Yeah, little Forrest Whitaker eye on there.
Let's do some news.
One thing I want to mention, and it's not about my shits.
I appreciate that.
There was one thing, Tyler.
Desire to do more intensifies.
The one thing he said that kind of everyone's missed was he said something about, he goes, I'm here listening to you people about like talking like this. I'm hearing your side, but I'm also have to listen to all other Canadians' concerns about safety. Do you recall that bit, Tyler?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was more, that kind of to me kind of had this whole for the greater good creepiness to it.
Yeah. Like, although I am here and I'm listening to you, here's my little caveat that says I don't actually have to take anything that you have to say into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, and he kind of said like, because you're all good guys and like you agree with me, and like that if it's that if it's like, he kind of said like, like if it's for the best, you have to agree, like if it cuts down crime, there are things that should be done, kind of thing.
No, no, that's not how that works. I'll take my chances.
Do you know what cuts down on crime? An armed citizenry.
Yeah. Also, crime, that's like a matter of perspective, right? Like if he was dragged out of there and strung up in a tree, it's really a matter of opinion whether a crime has actually occurred.
That's dark. All right.
But you know what I mean? I would wager a fair number of people gathered there yesterday that would be a defensive act to protect citizens against tyranny, to protect them against forceful theft of their property, backed by an implicit death threat.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one man's freedom fighter, another man's terrorist.
Well, yeah, so this is a matter of perspective. There are universal right and wrongs, but they're very limited in scope. Most things are subject to a point of view, and I don't want to promote. I don't want to be the guy to promote lynching public figures in Canada on this podcast, but I do want to be the guy to say that I'm very enthusiastic about it and I'm okay with it.
It's part of our heritage, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've done it in the past.
Yeah. So on the topic of lynching, I suppose we should talk about physicians.
9 out of 10 physicians agree Bill Blair should be lynched.
Certain physicians, also from the butthole of Ontario, Toronto, have decided that we don't have enough gun control in this country, and they've created Canadian Doctors for the Prevention from Canadian Doctors for Protection from Guns. So this is Najima Ahmad is a physician at I think it's St. Mike's in Toronto. Some fucking hospital in Toronto.
Yeah.
Well,
we're all the same.
This the American Medical Association was approached by the anti-gunners in the 90s to do a similar attempt in America, and it was immediately thrown back in their face by the NRA that 3 times as many people are killed by wrongly prescribed medication than gunshot, like gun violence in America. And I'm sure if you wanted to dig through the numbers, Canada, because it has even much lower like firearm violence rate than America, the numbers would be even more spectacular because we also have socialized medicine. So you take the two together with our socialized medicine. Yeah. Doctors' mistakes. I bet you doctors' mistakes probably kill 3 times as many people as gunshots in Canada, and wrongly prescribed or abused medication probably kills maybe 10 or 12 times more. Like these are just.
Yeah, if you take a look at the article I added right below that, Tim, it's from 2016, 2017, and it's 70,000 Canadians harmed by medical errors each year, and it was something like 30,000 deaths each year, preventable deaths.
Oh, really?
As a result of, yes.
So we lose about 490 people a year to gun violence.
Yep.
Well,
so it's actually like 60 times more people.
And if they're following the same logic, then these doctors that work in ERs and stuff should really be concerned with all these car accident victims. I mean, they should really be pushing to ban cars then at that point.
Well, in sports,
I was going to make the same point. Like, when my car breaks down, I don't take it to my doctor. You know why? Because doctors aren't expert on cars. Why the hell would I care what their thoughts are on firearms? Why do I give two shits what doctors think about firearms?
Well, apparently,
what is their expertise?
Apparently, this doctor treated one of the gunshot victims from the Danforth shooting, and that was one of the things that turned her, or whatever it was, that made her go this route.
Well,
So
yeah,
if I have to deal with the gunshot,
traumatized. Yeah.
If I have to deal with the gunshot, I'll ask them his opinion because he's got experience with treating a gunshot wound.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them an expert on firearms crimes in our country.
I'm curious if he's ever had to deal with a stabbing or a bludgeoning. How does he feel about banning knives and/or fists?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to assume their gender, but I'm pretty sure Najima's a woman.
Whatever. However, did they ever have to, or is they the better term? Did they ever have to deal with a stabbing or a bludgeoning or choking even?
Again, doctor at St. Mike's in Toronto, so all signs point to yes.
Yeah, I imagine they've had to deal with many stabbings. I don't hear anyone calling for knife control.
They are in England.
Time.
I mean, and given the recent sort of increase in axe crime, they really need to do something about that.
Don't give them ideas. They will ban axes. Don't give them ideas.
Yeah, well,
that is some aggressive typing. Let's
that's me. Sorry.
Let's move on to the
the rest of us don't have typewriters, Richard.
quick diary entry, nice Canadian diary entry. Sorry. Yeah. Dear diary, sorry to bother you.
Sometimes you need to respond to somebody on the internet, and it gets a little heated.
A little heated.
I didn't know where Richard's live journal is.
Let's look at this thing on the Post Millennial because I can't look at it on the CBC because the CBC allegedly pulled fact-based firearms article for being too pro-gun.
But it's fact-based.
Okay, so editorializing on the Post Millennial, but it wasn't allegedly. The article was up for like a day. It's gone. They took it down. They made the mistake of posting it. And they made the mistake of posting something that Tracy Wilson was in, so she took screenshots of everything. Sorry, CBC, your ombudsman is going to be busy.
Well, but that's how they get their like 600 mil or whatever it is, right?
Yes, I suppose.
Gavin, I would pretty well guarantee that's exactly what happened. They released this article that was like backed up by facts and numbers, and some of the higher ups saw it and was like, "What the hell are you guys doing?
Whoa!
We're not going to get our money.
Yeah,
get that shit the fuck off our site." That's exactly what happened.
We haven't got our motherfucking check yet. So yeah.
Oh, now somebody's alarm is going off. This is the worst podcast ever.
Bad podcast.
Not mine. Not me.
That's really bad podcast etiquette.
I think that's the
Would anyone like
on
to
their
take
way.
a phone call?
Yeah. Do I get to call a friend?
Yes. So I thought this was funny.
Is this a call-in show? Did I do a call-in to the show too?
You could do a call into the show, but we don't have a number for that. I should figure out how to do that. I'm sure I don't have the time to figure that out.
No, but it's a gamble though, because like, what if only like 2 people call in? It'd be super embarrassing.
No, but the ability to do it would be kind of cool.
What if 2 really cool people call in? What if Rod Giltaka from BC finally joins the podcast?
Oh God, that guy! He'll talk for an hour about how beautiful BC is and how much he hates Ontario.
And then I don't have to worry that only 2 people called in because he filled 2/3 of the show.
Maybe get Earl to call in.
Wow.
Yeah, we do need another Earl tape.
Wow.
So I guess if you do want to read the article that was on the CBC radio website, archive.org has the copy of it from December the 3rd because You put it on the internet. Sorry, CBC. It's out there now.
Weird.
If you don't want people to see it, don't put it on the internet.
Yeah. That applies to more than just the CBC, by the way. Just saying.
It is interesting that the facts turned out to be too pro-gun.
Can we, every time somebody says fact on the show, can we say it like our angry veteran friend?
Yes.
I'll work for that. Fact. Fact.
We gotta ISO that.
Yeah.
So I'll put that on the to-do list.
Like he'll be in a baseball bat commercial before summertime.
So
I gotta assault you with a baseball bat.
For whatever reason, this whole thing with CBC pulling this article is especially infuriated me. It's like we already know that they are they're the Ministry of Truth, and that they very much skew their articles and things like that. But to see them so obviously to pull an article like this that was written and researched and sourced and referenced because they weren't happy with the narrative, how blatant it was is really annoyed the shit out of me.
Do you know why it upsets you as much as it does? It's because you thought you had more time before this country would become what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I thought, they were still at the subtle. You know what I mean? Like okay, yeah, they're doing little things like that. It's like, oh no, it's just they're just full out lying and cheating and stealing.
Yeah. It's reached the point of the absurd, right? Like it's one thing if they don't release the story at all, or they maybe alter the facts a little bit, but the fact that it went out and then got retracted, and I'm pretty sure this isn't the only one. I think there's been a few other stories.
It just got deleted. It wasn't retracted.
Yeah, but I think there's been a few that I've gone back to click on links to reread something because it's like, hold on, I need this fact that I read, or sorry, I need this fact that I read, and then the article's gone.
I believe the term they like is memory hold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's bullshit. Like, if the news is supposed to give the news, which includes no editorial but all facts, well, I don't care what position they support. It's up to me to decide what my position is. You tell me the facts that are relevant to it.
We have always been at war with Eurasia.
Yeah.
It's other places are at war with the federal government. Let's talk about Quebec. Richard alluded to this earlier. I have a CTV article in the link or in the show notes, but there's been a bunch of stuff about this going on. The Quebecois are protesting and not registering their firearms, and it's receiving very, very little coverage in both English and French media, although it is being covered more in French media in Quebec. Sadly, my French is very poor, so I don't know what's going on most of the time.
Well, somebody at the meeting in Durham actually made a comment that a fair number of Quebecers that are along the Ontario border are now going over to Ontario to buy the firearms instead of buying them in Quebec.
Awesome.
Hardly a shock. I mean, they do the same thing with their alcohol. Why would they not do it with their guns?
Well, no, the other way around. For alcohol.
Other way around. I'm backwards. That's fine.
Hello, it's me.
I mean, really,
I feel very undertaxed.
A good trade. There's probably a good barter system that could be worked out there, right?
Yeah. How many 2.4s of Labatt's do you need to get a rifle?
Ooh, that's a good question. Although they'd probably more like a Molson Dry or something like that, or a Santon.
No, we get the alcohol. We're not sending them alcohol. You guys got to get this the right way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tim actually doing the correct accent threw me for a loop there. Sorry.
You actually thought you were Quebec. Quebecois.
Felt like you had to go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody loves Quebec.
I'd like to tell you our program. It's our M305 for Coors Light trade-in.
So I don't have the numbers.
What is the compliance rate? I saw somewhere it was like 7% or something like that.
Well, they're claiming it's 25%, but there's no way. It's probably less than 10%.
Yeah.
And that was the debate, because I've seen the numbers on this, and in the old registry, it was something like there's like 500,000 firearms that should be being registered in Quebec, and they're not nearly anywhere close to that.
They sold them all to Mike from Canmore.
Yeah.
Right. So the compliance rate is estimated to be somewhere around 10% by various people that have been quoted. I think the CSSA was the ones that came up with the 7% figure.
Yeah, I think so. But you really don't know. There's really no way.
Yeah. No, but in any event, I'm sure that we can surmise from this that people in Quebec are very reasonably not registering their property with the government.
And again, this is a good news because the vast majority of those people are going to be hunters, and that means they are now on board with the rest of us. They understand.
Yeah.
And if that 7% number is based on the number of rifles that were registered under the previous registry years ago, we know that number's only gone up.
Yeah.
So 7% is likely a conservative number.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah. I certainly don't want to be an advocate for illegal activity, but I don't think I've ever been prouder of our, friends in Quebec.
It'll be interesting to see if sales of firearms in Quebec have actually gone down. It'd be interesting to see if that's happened.
All along the border, they've gone up 110%.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? I haven't followed how the registry work, but how does that work if they buy from a retailer that's outside of Quebec?
Or they buy online.
I believe they have 30 days supposedly to register it.
Right, it's up to them to register it, though, right? Like,
absolutely
on the purchaser, on the individual firearms owner, not on the store that's doing the sale.
Good luck with this registry, guys.
Yeah. Well, and so the other thing with this registry is the punishment for the punishment for being found with an unregistered firearm in Quebec, as of I think it's the end of January that this comes into force. Like it just came into force. The punishment is a fine, and it's not a particularly high fine. It's a tiered scale. It's up to $5,000, but it doesn't start at $5,000. I don't remember what it starts at, but it's like for each subsequent offense, it goes up by a bunch.
Wow!
So it starts at like $500, and it's like $1,000, and it's like $5,000, something like that.
No, should you not be able to fight that charge on the basis that the Firearms Act is
federal?
Is a federal offense and not provincial?
I think that
so how can they?
And well, the SQ has said that they would rather not level charges against people. They're encouraging people to comply with the law, and they want to educate the public in Quebec.
And then they just they're not complying with the fine.
Well, they're currently not issuing fines.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. I think they're just going to keep asking for compliance, and if it ever did become a legal issue, then they could potentially have like a losing case. Like it's just.
And maybe that's what they're afraid of if they try to find a lot of people.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. Like if you get that fine for not registering your firearms, that's like far steeper penalty than having an ethics violation in Parliament.
Hey, that $200 when you're a trust fund kid.
That stings.
That hurts, yeah, man. That's
a lot of French fries from Arnaud.
Yeah.
The other piece with this is there are towns in Quebec that are now passing resolutions at the municipal level to say that they're not going to be compelling their citizens to comply with this provincial level law, which
that's awesome.
I think is cool because like municipalities are usually not my favorite form of government, but I guess there's some small towns in Quebec that don't sound awful. Never thought I'd say that.
I guess it's rural Quebec, right?
So they only speak French?
Yeah, but aside from that, they're good people.
Okay.
I seem to recall talking to our friend Darren and he lives now in rural Quebec, and he's saying like they're probably some of the most redneck people, which is awesome, in the entire country. He's like, they ain't registering shit.
Well, that's good. They shouldn't be. Other places that shit is not getting registered. We should talk about Nunavik.
Yeah.
So the Nunavik police. This is in the. I'm not even pronouncing that news. Nunavik police won't penalize unregistered gun owners.
Nor should they.
It's interesting. Well, the chief of the police in Nunavik is not going to be pressing charges against people because they have a. I guess they have a problem with people in northern Canada not registering their guns.
But I mean, if it's a non-restricted item, they aren't in the province of Quebec where that is a law. So why would they?
Maybe a preemptive issue because of C-71. Assuming that people that people in Nunavut may own many 8.58s or Swiss Arms rifles.
That's where all the Swiss Arms in Canada are located.
Yeah.
For some reason, the police force there is holding a registration clinic. I don't really.
They don't know how to register them. Is that it? Is that the whole?
Yeah, because it's not their money. That's why. Like, why would you hold a clinic? It's just
like I don't know what goes on in Nunavut or in Nunavik, but it seems unusual to me that their police force is holding a registration clinic to help people register their firearms, because everywhere that's not Quebec, we don't register our non-restricted firearms.
Yeah, and if it's a restricted, how did you even get it without registering it? Because you have to do that at the door.
Unless they're talking about the 858.
But even then, you can't register that now. I was looking into this the other day because allegedly I may be in possession of one of those. And until it becomes law, you can't register it.
And it ain't going to happen. It looks like the time's going to run out on it.
Yay.
There's 60 some odd sitting days left in the House, and they've got 35 bills to pass before then.
Well, fingers crossed.
Especially if it gets sent back from the Senate.
Although,
now
I wouldn't complain about picking up a Swiss Arms for cheap before it gets thrown out. Just saying.
Firearms Outlet Canada just got some in, but they're $4,000.
Ooh.
Yeah, I said for cheap. Not.
Yeah, well, that's the best you're gonna do, man. Limited supply.
Yeah,
Not
they're lucky you
unlimited
could probably
demand,
get them
but
in.
the demand exceeds supply. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Your best bet would have been SFRC putting them out on fire sale for like $2,800, like a year ago.
Well, when I become rich and famous.
Oh, you know what? I think I just figured something out that was important to this article that I didn't understand before. Nunavik isn't actually in Nunavut. It's part of Quebec. Suddenly, it makes a lot more sense.
Okay, that was what I had thought. I was keeping quiet over here because I'm like, oh, I thought this was a place in Quebec.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a place in Nunavut. Apparently, okay, so that makes.
So this is one of the good municipalities to live in. Then,
yeah,
we've cleared that up.
Yeah,
I don't even recognize none of it.
Yeah, it wasn't on the map when I was a kid.
Yeah,
no, we recognize Alberta. Trudeau doesn't recognize Alberta.
Yes.
Okay, my fault. I totally misunderstood this. I thought we were talking about a city in Nunavut. I was like, why do the police in Nunavut care? But yeah.
All right, we all learned something. Show's over. See you next week.
Right. Yeah. Finish your whiskey. Go home. Wait, I am home.
That was quick.
Well, yeah. Finish your whiskey.
Let's talk about sock guns, because Toronto.
Is that like a sock account?
No, but we'll get to that. So Mark Saunders was the police chief in Toronto, was shooting his mouth off recently, saying that police used a sock gun. And this is a success story. This is in CTV News. So 2 officers entered a convenience store to take into custody an armed suspect. He was armed with a very big knife, like a seriously very large,
like a Crocodile Dundee knife.
Like that's not a knife.
This is a knife. Man, that's a big knife.
Yeah. So two Toronto Police Service officers entered a convenience store where a patron was harassing people with his "that's not a knife." Having their patrol carbine and their sock gun, they were able to subdue the suspect and take him into custody, causing the gentleman behind the counter to freak out. And the interview is pretty funny. I'm not going to play it on the show. But apparently the police and CTV don't understand what a sock gun is, which is the thing that I'm taking from this. So this is a beanbag firing shotgun. A sock, S-O-C, round, is a beanbag round for a 12-gauge shotgun. Not S-O-C-K the way that the news writes it, because that's not what we're talking about. So they used a less lethal option to beanbag the suspect into custody.
Yeah, which still hurts like a motherfucker.
And here I was thinking the Prime Minister could supply them with some extra rounds after he's done making the rounds with his latest set of matching socks, or theme-appropriate socks.
Ooh, well done.
Sadly, no. They do have these guns to fill the gap for frontline officers where they need to de-escalate the situation, according to the police chief in Toronto.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure how the escalation of force thing works, or maybe I'm unclear on part of it. But it seems to me if you shoot somebody with a beanbag round, you're not really de-escalating.
Well, after that you are.
What's
You
wrong with
escalated it slightly. And then if you hit them in the junk, they ain't moving nowhere. Like it's.
I'm disappointed.
Why not a can launcher?
What were those
not?
T-shirt cannons?
Cannon.
Yeah.
I'm sad that the other officer in this event had a C8 and didn't have the opportunity to use some quality Colt Canada engineering to subdue the suspect.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, like the Colt has had some publicity lately in Kenya, so it was time to let the sock gun have its 15 minutes of fame.
I still think it would have been cool, like if they had used a can launcher, they could shoot him with like a can of brisk iced tea, and then they could go, chill out.
Or what about like cans of Brio? Because nobody drinks that shit anyways.
Brio, Mamma Mia.
Tim does all the best impersonations.
Are these things legal to own by civilians in Canada, or is it law enforcement only?
You can get
I don't think
beanbag rounds.
Yeah,
well,
I don't think it's a problem.
I'm looking at this. Well, sorry, man. I'm looking for this out of this website, AdvantageAmmo.ca, and they sell them for $12.29 a round. I'm kind of wondering if that's like a law enforcement only thing, or if anybody can just like.
Can you are allowed. Yeah, probably.
I was thinking you could de-escalate lots of situations that way. That'd be fantastic.
If you do it, you're using a 12-gauge shotgun, which is a firearm, and that's a chargeable offense.
You know what else de-escalates situations? Buckshot.
Yeah. Where are you going with the sock on, honey? Oh, I'm going to go refinance the mortgage.
Don't worry. This will de-escalate things.
Yeah. Just shoot him in the nuts with beanbags until he gives you time.
I think you could purchase your beanbag rounds for civilian use. I don't see this as a practical application for a civilian firearms ownership in Canada.
No, but I would really very much like to shoot somebody with one of those. Just saying.
Fine. You can shoot me with a sock.
I don't know. They are only good from -50 to 100 degrees Celsius. So we might have to wait till spring, guys.
Well, I mean, at least I'll still be able to use it with my EOTech.
Yeah. Let's do one more. Sun News? Yeah. Sun News. From the Edmonton Sun. Spruce Grove youth charged after police seize 30 firearms and 2,000 rounds of it. Jesus, Gavin, what are you doing?
I'm a little drunk and I dropped something.
2,000 rounds of ammunition.
Don't drink that Kool-Aid.
I'm celebrating Tyler being back on the show and imbibed a little too much alcohol.
Aren't we all? Man. So, 17-year-old individual was charged by Edmonton police for the possession of 30 firearms and a whopping 2,000 rounds of ammunition.
That's a lot of firearms and not a lot of ammunition, considering the amount of firearms.
I don't know if this guy got the memo, but he's got to bump up the ammo a bit.
Yeah, you got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't even know if those are rookie numbers. Like that's Do I even have 2,000 rounds of ammo in like any one caliber?
Probably 22. You probably don't have more than like 2,022.
Nah, throw a 0 on there, bro.
Good 22 ammo.
Okay,
Well,
good
first of
22
all,
ammo.
I think charging a 17-year-old is ageist to begin with, and I think they should take this right back to court and say, hey, it's okay. He's a firearms attracted minor. He should just like be able to do this, right? I mean,
what he should do is convert to Islam, and then all his problems will go away.
So there you go. That'd work too.
Or he can chuck them off the highest building in town.
How many guns did you say? Yes, 37.
30.
30.
30.
So he's got like 66, 67 rounds per firearm.
Yeah, but he's only 17 guns away from getting an import award.
Fair.
But this sounds like a smash and grab. Basically, just him and or maybe some friends basically ran in and just grabbed what they could and left. And it sounds like he left a shitty trail of breadcrumbs behind him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the one boxing ammo.
Yeah. Is this the one Blair was talking about on Sunday?
Broke into a gun store and stole all the stuff, and then they seem to have caught him immediately afterwards.
Yeah. So luckily,
immediately.
Yeah. Luckily, this shitbag got caught. And these guns didn't make their way out onto the street, but fucking God knows how many times he's done this before.
Other thing with this, the inconsistency of the application for the offenses. He only received 20 charges. He stole 30 firearms, but he only received 20 charges.
Yeah,
so unless they were like only counting
break
the
and
unique,
enter.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, so unless they were only counting like the unique charges, the number seems low, and I feel like the Edmonton Police Service could bump those numbers up a little.
Because normally you do one stupid thing and you have like 13 charges because like 6 of them will be redundant.
Yeah, but like I feel like if you're going to steal 30 guns, you should get like a charge per stolen gun.
Yeah, at the very least. So like if you have 30 offenses, you should have at least 30 charges, but likely because they have stupid redundant charges, you'd have at least double or triple that number. Like you'd get like possession of a firearm without a license, possession of a restricted firearm without a, like they have those stupid ones where you're like, it's the same fucking thing.
They stack on each other like that.
Yeah, and you're like, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like what?
It would be like unauthorized possession of a restricted firearm, possession of a restricted firearm without a valid registration certificate.
Yeah, like all that bullshit where you're like, and then none of it sticks.
No, where all of our legal, law-abiding firearms owners do that. We make paperwork mistakes and we get 5-year minimums. But actual criminals, I feel like this kid's probably not going to jail over this.
Well, he's 17, so fuck no.
No, well, I don't believe you, Andrew, because Bill Blair told me that the Liberal government takes
Blair's
public
a liar.
safety very seriously.
Bill Blair is a liar.
He is a liar, but he's not so heavy that he can't be strung up from the finest oak tree in West Grey.
It doesn't matter whether he's a liar or not. He does what his master tells him.
Yeah.
These are all very good points.
It's true.
And the master's not Trudeau. It's Butts.
Always funny. Because his name is Butts.
I think you got at least like three more masters to go before you get to the final boss there.
Could be.
Soros! Sorry, I got this weird little cough going on, yeah.
Let's do rapid fire feedback. I feel like it's time. It's from Envy Meow. This is 5 stars. Review left. Thank you guys for giving me back my interest in guns and hunting. My family has always done so in the past, but I've distanced myself from 10 in the last 15 years, but I'm finding pleasure in renewing those parts of my past. Keep up the great work. I just read it the way it's written. That's not even the whiskey talking. Also, I hope that this particular episode helps because all we've done is talk about gun stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad that someone has gotten back into the lifestyle, if you will. We need every single one of you.
Wait, the lifestyle is?
Yeah.
Are we on one of those shows?
Is that what we're doing here?
I'm coining a new phrase for gun owners to try and make us be more cohesive.
It's like the alternative liberal lifestyle.
Yeah. It's more palatable to the left if we call ourselves lifestylers. It's a thing now.
Yeah, but I feel like if we say that, they're going to show up expecting it's one of those clubs that they go to.
Well,
Yeah.
they have shooting clubs, so you could
Yeah.
club of sword.
Yeah.
Sounds like they'll be expecting analingus.
Yeah.
Well, luckily
What do
everyone's
you
learned
think
how to do that in
Tapwater is?
school.
Just a
Hosting
gay
a
bomb,
standard
baby.
party of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't have drops for that. I'm never getting them. So good luck.
No, seriously though, I'm glad that someone's gotten back into shooting because we need every single person that's in the fight to be in the fight and active. And
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Tell a
probably
friend.
that time of year again where I take the new kids at work shooting. So I did that last year and we indoctrinated like 10 people. It was good times. I should probably take all the new kids again this year.
Yeah,
Show them
look,
guns. I also
yeah.
find it makes them a lot more complacent to doing what I tell them to do.
My grandson is now going to the cadets in Glencoe here. They're not allowed to shoot guns.
I'm sorry, what?
They're not allowed to shoot guns.
In the cadets.
No,
They're
sorry,
also
sorry.
cadets.
You got to say that once again. The cadets are not allowed to do what?
They're not allowed to shoot guns.
It was bad enough when they were
Why?
relegated to only shoot
I'm going to
22s.
pursue this further to find out why. I didn't go with them the first time.
Like if they were like, oh, we're in the air cadets, so we fly airplanes and drop bombs, I'd be like, yeah, all right, that makes sense.
No,
no.
air cadets can still have a rifle
Air
team.
cadets still
So-
should. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but they should. I'm just saying, if that was their reasoning, is that like we're an airplane, so we don't really use guns, I get it. But if you're like,
total cuck.
Except for the pistol on their ejection suit, like
well, yeah, but like, or their 22 survival rifle, but like, I'm just saying, like, I could at least understand that. I don't like it, but understand it. But if you're
Liberal apologist, Gavin.
yeah, I'm taking over for liberal Tim. He hasn't been on the show for so long that someone had to take that position.
There we go.
The air cadets need a warthog.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
See? Yeah.
100%. How do we get that to happen?
Yeah.
We're no longer doing gliders. We're just getting A-10s, which are basically the same thing.
Yeah. And some Tomahawk missiles. But like whatever.
I'm deeply disturbed by that. I mean, I understand that the cadet program has been weakened over the years, but seriously, no guns?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, they've got those 22 fucking Lee Enfields that they've had for forever, and like 22 is still dirt cheap, so what the fuck?
What other reason is there to join the cadets?
Yeah.
Maybe they want to learn how to shine their shoes.
Maybe.
I will endeavor to find out what's going on. I'm going to
Get
go
on
with
that,
Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah,
We-
that
we
could be a
trust that
whole
to you.
episode right there, is talking about the cucking of the cadets.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in answer to Tyler's question, I get like leadership and citizenship, I think, are big parts of the cadet program, but
No,
the
but
shooting part is
I
pretty
say
fun.
that I say that because like the Canadian government does not have your back if you serve the country.
No,
it seems like
no,
an
it's
asinine exercise to serve this government that hates your guts. You
Yeah.
put your life on the line to defend a system that hates you. They hate you, like they want you dead. They're actively trying to replace you.
Well, yeah, they keep sending you places with those fucking blue helmets. How are you supposed to blend in and not get shot when you've got a blue helmet on?
You know, I don't really feel like it's a laughing matter. I mean, like the military is chronically underfunded. Everybody knows it. So they send you into harm's way, fighting somebody else's war with inadequate equipment, inadequate training, and okay, yeah, you've got the camaraderie and you're like go get 'em spirit and your stiff upper lip or whatever. But it doesn't change the fact that they send you in with the without everything that this country can afford to give you. They send you in there to die for no tangible benefit to you, your family, or your community. And then if you do manage to survive and you come home and you're all hurt and screwed up for the rest of your life, they turn their back on you. They don't take care of you, like they said they would. It's a
they're
total
asking
joke.
for more than we can give.
Absolute joke.
Well, they spent $40 million fighting to prevent veterans from getting benefits, and they turned around and paid $10 million to a terrorist to avoid court costs.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's $50 million that they could have just given to them.
The only
Right
tangible benefit, I'm gonna say the only The only reason anybody should join the Canadian military is to get training, the training that they need and the operational knowledge that they need to overthrow the Canadian government. That is the only useful purpose in joining the Canadian military.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to pick a reason, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Or as Sun Tzu said, know that enemy.
Yeah.
He also said sometimes gangsters have to bang hammers.
Yeah.
Like I just can't state it strongly enough. These people hate you. They hate you. They want you dead. They want you gone. Yeah. And the disarmament agenda that Bill Blair is pushing, that's just one small piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't.
I'm sad.
Don't give up, God.
Yeah, that was a hell of a black pill, Tyler. I missed you. I missed you.
Like there's no disrespect to people who have served, but I'm sorry. And I'm sure, in retrospect, looking back on your service, you might find some common ground with me that the government hates.
No, to anyone that's considering it, that's absolutely, you need to think about it because you're fucked.
All right, outro time. Let's do that outro. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on the Instagrams at urbex_GTA.
Cool. Ian, I've heard you have another lesser podcast.
I do. You can reach me directly at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me on Canadian Prepper Podcast. It's on iTunes and also on the YouTube channel called The Island Retreat.
Richard, do you have the internet personalities?
I used to be on Twitter, but I got permanently banned. I posted on there that white South African farmers were being killed by blacks in a routine, and
no, that's not happening. That's fake
not
news.
Happening.
Fake news.
We looked into it. It's not happening.
Oh Jesus! You probably went on about 500 white squatter camps in South Africa too.
Yeah, we haven't sent any blue helmets there, so it's not happening.
Not happening. No.
Yeah, what do you think it is, man? Rwanda?
In jail.
That was, must have been Zika or Ebola or something like that. That's what's doing it.
Yeah.
No, it's pronounced Rwanda.
I thought it was Rhodesians never die.
That too. Tyler, you had a podcast before you had contempt for your audience.
I'll get around to it. I'm only 50% of the problem. I will say that.
Fair.
Alcohol is the other.
I do.
No, violence.
I think you're being very generous there, but
knowing is half the battle.
Yeah,
alcohol is a solution.
Tyler, I do have a podcast. We haven't put out an episode in 4 or 5 months, but whatever. We'll make it happen sooner or later. We'll find a new routine.
The podcast will balance itself.
That's right. It's the Liberty or Death podcast, but don't bother looking it up. I'm sure when Matt and I finally get back together and record an episode, I'll come back on here to promote it. But otherwise, I'm just on Instagram at Tactical Patriarch.
All right. Marty, where can everybody find our show?
Website, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or Facebook, Instagram. Send us an email at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
There you go. Tim, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at facebook.com/Tim'sGoodT-shirts.
I've heard they're quite good.
I like them.
That's important. As always, my name is Andrew. I've been your host. You can find me at RagnarokTactical.ca. You should use the discount code PATRIOT at checkout if you want bandages or first aid supplies or tactical accessories, or definitely not IBI barrels, because I took those down until we get off Shopify. So definitely don't buy barrels for me right now.
But send an email.
Wink, wink.
Send an email.
But if you want an IBI barrel, I mean, I know a guy. Use discount code Patriot at checkout. I think that's it. Oh no, Rod Giltaka. We have to talk about him the third time this episode, because the rule is only one person from BC at a time, and this week it's Ian. So if Rod wants on the show, he knows the rules. Thunderdome!
Cage match.
Yeah. That or he has to challenge Tyler to a shit-talking contest about different provinces.
That would be entertaining. I would definitely promote and watch that. I want to remind all of our listeners out there in podcast land that you are the true north, strong and free.